What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. So I get an email out of the blue from a gentleman named Eli. He has a YouTube channel called Eli Writes Stories. So Eli wrote me to basically explain to me that he had been stopped on his way from California back to Iowa, where he lives, by a Wyoming patrol officer. Now, we don't have the trooper's name because it was redacted in the documents that Eli sent to me, but I would like for you guys to watch the video. It's going to give us an opportunity, probably the best opportunity I've had since I started this channel, to really dig into the Rodriguez decision from 2015, which really dealt with when it is proper and, most importantly, when it is not proper to extend a traffic stop for longer than necessary to complete the mission. So without further ado, we're going to watch Eli's video here, and then we'll come back from time to time. You know how we do it, break in and have some conversations about what's going on in the video. So let's check it out. Check it out. Now, as you can see here, the police officer has asked Eli out of the vehicle. He's instructed him to put his hands up, and you see him conducting a pat down. Now, I believe at this point that Eli has disclosed that he is armed, because later in the conversation you hear that he is a concealed carry holder, and you see the officer continue with his pat down and then ultimately disarm Eli. That presents a really unique opportunity for us to discuss another Rodriguez case from the 10th Circuit, which is very funny because Rodriguez versus the United States is the 2015 case that came out of the Supreme Court that dealt with the mission and scope of a traffic stop and canines. Now, the names are inverted. You got Rodriguez versus the United States from 2015. That's SCOTUS and scope. And then you've got United States versus Rodriguez from 2013. That is a 10th Circuit case where the Court of Appeals upheld an officer's decision to temporarily disarm a legally armed citizen for the purposes of the traffic stop. So don't get those confused, but it's kind of cool. We do get to talk about both Rodriguez's in the same traffic stop. Let's continue.
I'm going from the snow in Iowa, coming down.
And I'm the
What's that?
Went from the snow in Iowa
Okay.
to like this to from like I crossed the like 4 different states last night in 5 different time zones.
Oh my gosh.
Oh Christ!
And where did you sleep at?
I slept at Love's truck stop. I don't remember what town. I just know there was a one here in the state.
How long have you been driving this morning then? Since you slept?
I woke up at 6 a.m. local. I think I've been on the road for about
a couple of hours.
6 hours now, 7 almost.
Okay.
Yeah. Yesterday I did a whole 14-hour like hump. So.
Jeez. How much sleep did you get?
I actually got a full like 8 hours last night. About 6, 8 hours. But
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like the license plate too. OMG.
Yeah, no, that's randomized. So
really?
There's a few. Yeah, they have like different ones for each month. Back in Gardner.
Yeah.
Again, I am so sorry.
This is how fast I had you. So at 87.
Got it.
Okay, and the speed limit is 70.
I wasn't actually sure what the speed limit was.
Yeah. So any 2-lane highway
Okay.
in Wyoming is going to be 70,
70? Okay.
Unless you go into like a small town. We have a lot of small towns.
Got
here.
it. Okay.
They always dip down, then they go back up.
Yeah, that's how it is in Iowa.
Okay. Where in Iowa?
Waverly up north.
Do you know where Harlan is?
I've heard of the town.
That's where my parents
No
live,
shit.
and I have family out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Council Bluffs area, all that stuff is where I...
Yeah, I'm north of 20 minutes north of Waterloo.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, I was on hands-free with my friends. I kind of just I thought I had cruise control on, and then after a while the foot just kind of stays there because it's an empty road.
10-4. And is your middle name?
I go technically my Tenorio. I normally
Okay.
put down Tenorio as my middle name.
Okay.
Arc Eli is my first.
So it's Art Eli
If I'm
is your
correctly,
first
if I'm
name?
correctly, it's sorry. I have to remember this because I go by Eli. So
Okay.
Arc is the first name that I've put when I have like TSA like pre-check. So they put Arc and then it's space Eli.
Okay.
Yeah, Eli Tenorio.
And so you're heading where now?
I'm heading to Mount Rushmore.
Oh, okay. What brings you out there?
I've always wanted to see it. No, I was on my way through there anyway, so
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you have what's your final destination?
back to Iowa.
Oh, I
I
gotcha.
figured because I was going to cut through Wyoming anyway. I figured like
Yeah.
stop in South
Yeah,
Dakota. why not?
definitely. What brought you down to Cali then?
Family.
Okay.
Yeah, I got folks there, and then went to go visit a friend's family back in Northern California.
Where in Cali are they?
My family's out of Palm Springs, and my other friend's family's out of Redding, so
Okay.
two different parts of the state entirely.
So how long have you been on your journey then?
I started yesterday in Northern California, in Redding, went to Sacramento. It was a 3-hour drive.
I'm saying, when did you leave Iowa though to go to? So how long have you been on?
19th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so about 10 days.
Again, sorry for the trouble.
No, that's what I'm here for, right?
Yeah.
I know there's not a lot of traffic out here.
Yeah,
but
yeah, and
still-
after a while, you just, as I said, I didn't really see any speed signs. If
I
I'm being
gotcha.
completely honest with you, they're like far and few between. You're kind of confused as to what speed limit is, like especially down here.
Yeah.
It's just confusing.
And then you seem very nervous, Ark. Is there?
I have anxiety.
Okay.
I'm
I got you. Do you take any medication
yes, I
for
do.
it? Or? Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is there anything illegal inside
No,
the vehicle?
God, no.
Okay. What about marijuana?
I don't smoke weed.
Cool. All right. Nothing illegal in the vehicle. No large amounts
No.
of U.S. currency.
No, I'm poor. I'm broke.
Any heroin?
I'm broke as shit, dude. I can't even afford that.
What about heroin?
No, nothing like
Okay.
that.
Cocaine?
No,
Methamphetamine?
nope,
Marijuana?
nope.
Okay.
Just tired, man.
No, I got you. Do you mind looking at me? Open your eyes for me.
Yeah.
SL 163 445.
How long have you had the? You said you're. Oh, I got
Yep.
you. What type of medication do you take for it?
Just what is it called?
I got you.
Yep.
Did you take that? Do you normally take it this morning?
No,
or-
I take it at night.
Okay, before bed then.
Yeah, yeah, I take it I take twice a day.
I got you.
Yep. Again, I ain't trying to cause any trouble.
No,
My
no,
bad
no,
for
you're
not
not at all.
realizing.
Okay, so what the officer, first of all, the trooper's being perfectly nice. It's just that he knows what he's doing, and we're going to find out what he's doing in a second. But Eli's being perfectly fine. It's just that he should not be answering these questions. These are called itinerary questions. For whatever reason, these troopers, their whole sole purpose is like revenue generation. And all they do is just stop people and question every little thing. And I'm sure there's plenty of drugs running through these interstates. I'm not saying there's not. What I am trying to say is that Eli's answers are perfectly reasonable. He's not acting like he's the least bit bent out of shape. I mean, he's got answers for everything. Nothing catches him off guard. He's not, fumbling around trying to figure out what to say. He is nervous. He's sitting in a police car, and you can tell he's a little shaky or whatever, but he's also being questioned by a trooper side by side, and all he did was speed. And so he actually doesn't really know what's going on here, and he's nervous, which everybody would be nervous sitting in a police car. But he's not unusually nervous, and he's got perfectly legitimate answers to everything. He's explaining the TSA pre-check thing. He's explaining his whole journey. All I'm saying is you don't have an obligation to answer these questions. And the less you answer, the less delay the police officer can make in the process of running the name and doing all the stuff. You can hear that the police officer's sort of pecking along. I always say using the Columbus method of typing, which is finding it and landing on it, right? So this guy's like pecking one thing at a time. He knows that Rodriguez says that he has to conduct the traffic stop. There are certain things that he has to do during the pendency of the traffic stop, and he can't do anything more than that. He has to strictly adhere to the mission of the stop, and he knows that. So he's using these itinerary questions to give him a reason to pivot to a general wrongdoing or general criminal investigation. Answering itinerary questions is not required. It's a terrible idea. And as nice as Eli is, and even as nice as the trooper is, he's still working towards a Rodriguez and thus a Fourth Amendment violation. Let's continue.
Are you still living at?
Am I going to jail?
Why would you go to jail?
Oh, because felony speeding. I was like,
oh,
am
no.
I going to jail? It's like Christ.
No, you don't. Those Honda CRVs are good vehicles too.
Yeah, I just got this thing actually last year.
Especially for
Road tripping like this.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
tripping.
awesome. I have a green blanket in case I get trapped in the snow or something. It's stuck.
Okay.
I think last night,
Haha.
like one of those old school army like cotton blankets. It's like,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna need that, and then I just passed out with it next to me.
I got you.
The driver's seat of the truck stop.
So what just happened there is that the officer again is sort of disguising his investigation as small talk. And again, he's being polite and Eli is being way too cooperative. And I'm not saying anything to the camera that I didn't already say to him. I've already had this discussion with him. He was way too forthcoming with information and way too cooperative, and he knows that. In hindsight, it's easy to see that, but he didn't have anything to hide. He had never had an experience like this with the police, and he didn't feel like there was any reason for him to keep this information to himself. But again, just like at the end of this encounter, you're going to see there was nothing here. Nothing. There's nothing suspicious about anything he's doing. It just happens to be an invitation to keep asking questions when you keep answering the officer's questions. There is really nothing you can do, no matter how innocent you are, to convince a suspicious police officer that you are not being suspicious. No matter what your story is, no matter how much it lines up, no matter how much legitimacy there is to it, there's nothing you can do to get them off what they believe to be a blood trail. It is what it is. There's nothing you're going to ever be able to do. And so if you learn nothing else other than this, remember this as a universal truth in life. Do not answer any questions that you do not have to answer when being questioned by a police officer. Always invoke your right to remain silent. Always invoke your right to counsel. Do not sit there and let them question you for 15 straight minutes and then give them a reason to try to intimidate you and coerce you into giving them permission to search your vehicle. What he's actually trying to do here is figure out whether or not he could pin a DUI on him, because he asks him, have you taken lithium today? And he checks his eyes to try to establish whether or not he's DUI so he can have some reason to arrest him. Why? Why would you do that? Well, the answer is not necessarily because you want to arrest him for DUI, because you want to search that vehicle. This is a kid who's got Iowa plates coming from California through Wyoming to maybe one of the largest areas of drug trafficking in the country, where they have these wide open interstates and it's easy to traffic drugs. He wants in that car, and he knows that a DUI is something that under Arizona versus Gant could give him a reason to search the vehicle, because under Arizona versus Gant, you're only allowed to search the vehicle if you have reason to believe that there will be fruits of the crime in the vehicle. And so if you search for a DUI, then you can go and you can search for empty alcohol containers and marijuana and all this stuff. And so he's trying to figure out whether or not he can make a search incident to lawful arrest after a DUI and get access to the inside of that car. And of course, our guy doesn't have any issue with his eyes, and he's not acting like he's intoxicated in any way. So for now, he's going to move on. But guys, I literally remember this was like probably one of the first red flags for me as a new prosecutor when I was sitting in the state of Tennessee's training for new prosecutors, and the guy who is over the highway safety office was bragging about the time that he was able to convict a kid for DUI because he took his prescribed Ritalin. And he's sitting there saying, any substance that I can prove was in your blood, I can get a DUI conviction. It's not something to be proud of. And it was one of the first things I was like, you know what? I'm probably not right for this job. And I started really thinking about my role as a prosecutor based on what I expected to be able to do and what they would expect of me. And so I'm just telling you, anything they can use, including your prescription medication, they will use. You tell them nothing and you keep your evidence to yourself. Let's continue. Okay.
How large is the county? As in, like, how many people?
Oh, we're the third largest
No shit. Okay.
county in
So I don't know
Wyoming.
that.
So, but I mean, we're like The county is about 42,000. The city is about 35, 37.
Town I'm in is like 7,000 people. That's why I asked.
I got you.
Yeah.
So like I said, we have you going 87. Okay,
Yep.
I'm gonna lower that for you.
Sure.
I'm gonna write you for 84.
Okay.
So most of that reduced it quite a bit, but most importantly, that's bringing you below the 15 miles per hour
Thank
over
you.
the speed limit. So it puts you in
Thank
the
you.
lesser category.
I appreciate
okay?
it. Thank you.
Just make sure we're slowing down. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about that again. You end up on the road after a while, and the roads start to look the same, and you're kind of just like, oh, yeah. Yeah, especially since I'm out of state. I'm going from like Utah, which has like an 80-mile speed limit pretty much everywhere, and then and then Nevada, which is the same thing, and then I'm coming here and seeing wide open roads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you. Here and here's the spec for you.
Still good. Yeah.
Yep.
I never knew that. I have the Iowa permit, and I couldn't find it though.
This is Arizona.
Yeah, it's my it's my old Arizona permit, but I know it's still good.
How long have you been in
Iowa?
Yeah.
I've been in Iowa for about since April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oops. All right. So this is the speeding ticket, like I said. Only 84, so that reduced it quite a bit. Especially, plus you were wearing your seatbelt, so that reduced it as well. Okay. I'm trying to work with you here.
I understand.
You got to work with me by slowing it down.
I understand. I'm sorry about
If you
this.
wish to contest it, you can do so.
Okay.
Date, time, and location is on the front.
Okay.
Or you can pay the fine. You can do it mail-in, in person, or online.
All right.
And all that's on the back of the ticket. And
Okay.
a phone number if you have any questions.
Okay, sounds good.
Do you have any questions for me, Eli?
No, I don't have any.
All right, you're all set.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I do have a question.
Shoot.
Just from the nervousness that I'm getting from you, is it okay if I search your vehicle just to make sure there's not anything illegal inside the vehicle?
I'd rather not, man. Thank you.
It'll be quick.
No, I'm good.
Why not?
I'd rather just not.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So hold on for me, okay?
Sure.
Continue. Okay. This is where the traffic stop is over, and this is where the police officer's lawful authority to detain Eli ends. And this is a perfect segue to talk about the case of Rodriguez versus United States. So Dennis Rodriguez was stopped by an officer in Nebraska for briefly driving on the shoulder of a roadway. The officer went up to the car, he did his investigation, and he decided he was going to issue Rodriguez a warning citation. So he goes back to his car, runs the name, information, all this stuff, and he writes a warning citation. He goes back up to the car, and as he's handing Rodriguez the warning citation, he asks for permission to search the car. What Rodriguez says no. So what did the officer do? He said, okay, buddy, good job for knowing your rights. Go on about your way. No, of course not. He held Rodriguez, even though the traffic stop was over, for a canine. The canine hit on the car, and there was a bunch of dope in the car. Specifically, 50 grams of methamphetamine, which is a lot of methamphetamine. And they didn't have to wait very long. It was 7 to 8 minutes from the time that he said, no, Rodriguez, you can't go. It was 7 to 8 minutes from the canine came back. And this is one of my favorite decisions that's ever been given by the United States Supreme Court, because it gives us some hope that at some point, some cooler heads and some reasonable minds are going to prevail, and they're going to pull back a little bit on this nonsense that's happened with Terry versus Ohio and Pennsylvania versus Mipps. So what the court said in Rodriguez is that your mission when you stop a car is for whatever you stop the car for. So in the case of Rodriguez, it was for driving briefly on the shoulder of the road. And during the traffic stop, your focus has to be on completing the mission of the traffic stop. You cannot pivot your investigation to some investigation into general criminal wrongdoing, like whether or not the driver's a drug trafficker, right? Unless there's something that happens that would give you reasonable articulable suspicion for a separate detention. And this is what this looks like. This is basically, it kicks back to Terry versus Ohio, but it's basically this standard. If you've stopped somebody for speeding, like Eli here, your job is to run Eli's name, check Eli for warrants, check the database, make sure that the car's not stolen, whatever. Your general stuff that you do during a traffic stop, which is why you hear the trooper using the Columbus method to tap along the keyboard very slowly as he's asking him these questions, because he's gathering itinerary questions so that he can find something he can say that looks suspicious. So I'll pull up the citation here. And what he notes at the bottom of the citation is that the reason that he detained him was for suspicious travel plans. So Eli told him that he started in Iowa, again, because he answered questions he didn't have to, and he went all the way down to California, where he stayed for 9 or 10 days, and that he was in the second part of working his way back to Iowa in Wyoming after having just slept at a truck stop the night before and gotten 8 hours of sleep to get back to eventually Mount Rushmore and then eventually back to Iowa. Perfectly reasonable. And as this guy goes along, and I've sped up the video and cut out most of it, I've only included the parts where he's actually talking so you can hear what he tells the trooper, but basically find out that he's kind of a globetrotter. And Eli likes to travel around a bit. He's dealing with anxiety. He likes to see places and experience life in a way that maybe the trooper doesn't, right? That's not the point. There's no reason why an American citizen should have to justify to the highway patrol that what they're doing is not illegal. So back to Rodriguez. The court said you need separate, reasonable, articulable suspicion of criminal activity being afoot. In other words, if something doesn't happen in this traffic stop, that if you were on the street, walking down the street and observing this person outside of the vehicle, that would give you grounds under Terry versus Ohio to perform an investigatory detention, then you do not have enough to pivot from the mission of the traffic stop for the purposes of conducting a separate investigation. So the second that he says, here's your warning, you're good to go, hey, do you mind? And Eli says no, the detention is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. It's a 100% slam dunk, easiest case of a Rodriguez violation you've ever seen in your life. There's nothing about this that gives reasonable suspicion sufficient to perform a Terry detention on the street based on what he has here. And it turns out he's going to hold Eli for an hour waiting on a K9. So let's watch this and then we'll finish up and close it out.
1 hour later.
So you are all set. Any
Okay.
questions for me, sir?
No, thank you. I
Do
appreciate
you
your
have
time.
any questions for me at all?
No.
Do you want me to explain anything to you?
No, it's okay. I understand.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Well, if you don't have any questions, you are all
Close it
set,
out.
okay?
And there you have it. No K9 hit, notes at the bottom of the citation, some 58 minutes after the citation is issued, and we have a slam dunk, clear cut, 100% violation of the Fourth Amendment and Rodriguez. So Eli sent me this. He asked me whether or not he has a lawsuit. The answer is yes, you do have a lawsuit. But the issue is he doesn't have any damages. He's got a violation of the Fourth Amendment, sure, and I know you guys don't like to hear that, but that's not what the court considers to be a high level of damages. He was inconvenienced for an hour. It does matter, but more than likely what's going to happen is if he sues, he's going to get nominal damages of $1 and then reasonable attorney's fees, which means that the lawyer would get paid, but he probably wouldn't get paid very much. He could maybe get 10 grand, 25 grand, depending, but not a lot of money, and maybe not enough money to make it worth all the headache he's going to have to go through, other than the principle of this happened to me and I don't want it to happen to anybody else, which is a perfectly legitimate reason to bring suit. In closing, I just wanted to put this on you guys' radar. Eli asked me to publish it because basically he just wants the whole world to see this interaction and for the Wyoming Highway Patrol to start doing the right thing. And the problem is there was a video I put out about a year ago about the Kansas two-step where the district court had essentially forced the Kansas Highway Patrol to pay like $11 million worth of legal fees to the attorneys. Again, the people didn't get very much. The attorneys got $11 million for doing the legal work. But I guarantee you the Kansas two-step is still alive and well, just like I guarantee you if Eli sues, that the Wyoming State Patrol is still going to do this, because most people just say, yeah, you can search my car, and they just pay the ticket. So, you know, they pay out a couple $1 million in attorney's fees, or they pay out $50,000 in attorney's fees and pay Eli 10 grand or $1 or 25. Doesn't matter. It pales in comparison to the millions and millions of dollars that they get from people who just allow them to search the vehicle and just pay the ticket and move on with their life. So more than likely, it's not going to change. But this is, if you've ever wanted to see one, a clear-cut, unequivocal violation of Rodriguez. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you got something out of the video. I would like to invite you over to the Substack community. I've pulled back from the comments. The channel has blown up, and I'm so grateful to you guys, but I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of time it takes to respond and review all the comments. So I pull back from that. The way I figured is, if you want to interact with me, come over to the Substack. It's absolutely free to join. If you want to join on a paid tier, that is an option if you're interested in supporting the channel monetarily. If you don't want to come to Substack, but you do want to support the channel monetarily, I will put my Venmo and PayPal links both here on the screen as well as in the description. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Check out some of the other videos on the channel and leave a comment on there as well. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself. Don't answer their questions. You don't have to. Keep your evidence to yourself.